right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sophia Rowland, and I'm a product manager at SAS. And as promised, I'm here to talk about responsible AI considerations for language models. But first, why care? AI usage is all around us, and that's not going to change anytime soon. I absolutely love this example. It was an AI-generated image used to market an event last year in Scotland. And from this example, we can really start to see how far generative AI has come, or how much better we're getting at proofreading things before we start to post them. Because attendees to this event were promised cat-gatting and carchy tuns. But alas, there was no cat-gatting to be found. The event looked nothing like this beautiful poster, and people went on to laugh it off after getting their refund. Now here's a refund that's slightly harder to laugh off. A court in Canada had ruled that an airline must provide a refund to a customer who asked their chatbot if they were due one. The chatbot said yes. And the airline said, no, that's not consistent with our policies. The court said, actually, the chatbot lied, you have to get a refund. So who knew that an incorrect chatbot response was going to be worth $812.02? But it's not just financial costs we need to worry about. There are reputational risks at hand as well. I know a lot of folks are using language models to write their emails for them, but again, make sure you proofread. A local college had sent an email showing support about a local shooting, and in the email it actually cited that the email was generated by ChatGPT, which came across as very disingenuous. I mentioned this not to dissuade you from building AI systems, but rather to inform you of these potential pitfalls so that you can be better prepared. I like to hike, so I like to think of this as like a hike. Views may be lovely, your AI system may be lovely, but you want to make sure you review the weather conditions, you understand the trail ahead, you know how strenuous that hike could be, and you pack the appropriate materials. So let's review that trail ahead so that we can be better prepared. All right, in our few minutes together, let's just briefly go over 7 things that you can be doing to build AI systems around language models more responsibly. First, we need a clear understanding of what we want to build. We need to understand its consequences, the purpose, how it should be used, any limitations, and what is at risk when it gets a wrong answer, because it will be wrong. We want to sanitize the inputs that the user provides. We don't want to just take what the user chats in a box and sends it directly to the language model. We want to make sure that, depending on our use case, there's no confidential information we're sending to that language model, including personally identifiable information or intellectual property. We also want to be on the lookout for prompt injection, where a user will try to override the instructions that you've provided to the language model for malicious purposes. Now, traditional text analytics can help you prepare these inputs for your language model, but you need to make sure you select the right model for your use case. You need to think about where that model will be running. Is it on your premise, behind your firewall, or is it in a public cloud provider? You need to think about the languages that model needs to support. Maybe you need to support multiple models because you need to support multiple languages. You need to think about the size of that model. Can you afford a very large model at all times? What about a smaller one? And of course, you need to think about how generalizable and how specific your use case can be when selecting the right language model. You can add context to that language model using a process called retrieval augmented generation. I'm trusting everyone is now an expert after today. Yes? Perfect. Of course, you don't want to send your inputs from the user straight to the language model. You don't want to send what your language model returns straight to the user. You can look for things through evaluations like, was this answer relevant to what they were asking? Was this a toxic response? And again, you can use things like evaluation frameworks here, or you can use traditional text analytics to start to glean some of this information out. Red teaming. So I believe that breaking things can be a lot of fun. And red teaming is the process of trying to act like a malicious user to try to break your system. You try to get a toxic response. You try to get inaccurate data. You try to get data that might be confidential that you don't want coming outside of your organization. Again, by finding these problems, you can start to begin building around them to build a more secure system. But reminder, The language model will get it wrong, and you need to prepare for that case. This can be as simple as a report a problem in a chatbot, just so that your user can provide the correct information, let you know that something's gone awry, so again, you can fix the problems as you are aware of them. Now I see people taking photos, but don't worry, you don't have to take photos of this slide. I have a lot more information here in this blog, including that beautiful slide that I didn't build. But if you do take anything away from this session, it's that language models, like all AI systems, have inherent risks, but if we understand those risks, we can design our AI system to mitigate those risks. If you don't get the QR code, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to share these materials as well. Thank you, everyone.